Now that we've started to make you hungry, we're going to continue making you hungry with more demos, which I'm very excited about. The next round is an absolute triple threat. We've got 3 chefs coming from wide-ranging parts of the world, and what all 3 of them have very much in common is that they all extremely specialize in using spices to help bring vegetables and legumes to the center of the plate. So that question I asked about seasoning was absolutely leading. So here we are. We're going to start with Chef Christina Arakisame, who's the author of The Malaysian Kitchen and The Spice Merchant's Daughter, and she uses Malaysian spices and Southeast Asian flavors to bring out the best in vegetables. After her, we're going to have chef and consultant Suvir Saran, who's a recipient of the first ever Michelin star ever award in an Indian restaurant in America, who's well known for using Indian seasonings to great acclaim in his plant-forward cooking. And after him, we're going to have the CIA's own chef, Sayat Ozyilmaz, who's the chef of the Grove right here, and who uses the flavors of his native Istanbul and the broader Mediterranean to showcase the incredible produce he grows out in the garden out front, which if you haven't been to, I strongly encourage you to go check it out because it's very much blooming, and if you come from the frigid wilds of New York like I do, it's really a pleasure to spend some time in. So we're extremely excited to have everyone here, and without further ado, I think Chef Christina are you ready to go? Perfect.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. This way, right? Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much, CIA, for having me here. I'm really excited to be here and also to share this beautiful journey with you. I feel like I'm back with my friends because I grew up with the spices. My mother was a spice merchant, so these were my friends after school and played with them, in the backyard. I want to share with you today a little bit about Malaysia, and I got some little notes here so I don't forget what I say, and also a little bit of information to share with you as I cook. So I'm first going to make the Malaccan Eggplant Sambal, then I'm going to move to make the peanut sauce, and then during that time I will share with you the techniques and what Malaysia is, and then finally I have some notes for the food service people and how you can translate these dishes to your food service menu. A little bit of takeaway and the quite given time here. Malaysia is actually located in Southeast Asia, tucked between Australia and Thailand. So when people ask me where the country of my origin, I said it's sandwiched between. And 22 years ago, not many people knew where Malaysia was. And today Malaysia has been, a culinary destination offering you cuisines from around the world, even by Michelin star chefs. Yet in the United States, I feel that a lot of people still do not know what Malaysian cuisine is. And I'm teaching people in my cooking school, what exactly Malaysian cuisine is all about. So it all started in Malacca, which is one of the dishes that we were going to I'm going to show you how to make here today. And Malacca was at the 15th century. It attracted a lot of merchants from China, India, Europeans as well, Spanish and Portuguese and Arabians to come and barter and trade. And the people that came and bartered and trade also took back these spices to their homeland. Eventually, they made Malaysia their home. So Malaysian food is all of these cultures coming together. So when you cook Malaysian food, you have Chinese, Indian, Malay, which is the local, similar like Thai. You have Portuguese, and then you have Baba Nyonya, which I'll explain later, all coming together to make one dish. It's a little complex, but it's just a beautiful way of borrowing flavors. So today we're going to teach, I'm going to show you how to make, what do I have here? The peanut sauce here first? The peanut sauce? Okay. All right, okay, so I'm going to make the peanut sauce first, okay. So we're going to make the peanut sauce first. So in Malaysia, tasting the peanut sauce or trying to find the peanut sauce is a serious pursuit. People will travel to find the best peanut sauce. And what makes Malaysian peanut sauce different than other peanut sauce that you find here is the spice base. So Malaysian food always starts with a wet spice base. As you can see in this, I have chilies, I have galangal, and this is very much grown in our gardens. When we want galangal, We just go out to the garden and pluck it. It smells like roses, very fresh, very inviting, and that's the fragrance to this cuisine. And right here, I have a little bit of galangals, a dried, a little bit dehydrated. But if you get fresh galangals in the market, you want to make sure that you can just use your knife to cut the galangal in any way that it will allow you to cut. So sometimes your knife can't go through that root because it's a root, it's a rhizome. Then instead of forcing your knife to go through that root, you just change the direction of the galangal, and then you can continue cutting again. So galangal turmeric, this is fresh turmeric, again in our gardens, you know. And then we have garlic for pungent and also savory. All of these ingredients go in here to make a wet spice paste. In Malaysia, we call it rempah. This is the foundation of all the flavors that we want in the pot at the very beginning. And then the main ingredients will come to just meet it. So we focus in layering. So to do this, peanut sauce, we start with peanuts. That's going to go in here. And then, where is the cover? Okay. Okay, going to turn this one on. Is it on? So we're going to just, let's pulse this. We're just going to pulse this until it's grounded fine, okay? So then right here, we're going to add a little bit of water. So for food service, you can already make peanut sauce like this. So in Malaysian cuisine, we never use peanut butter, because the peanut sauce is just beautiful. When you start with raw peanuts and you toast it, it goes from this beautiful creaminess to golden brown. Oh, the aroma is amazing. And there is, you can't match, you know, the nutty flavor that fresh peanuts offer you. So I'm using Spanish peanuts here. So once the peanuts are grounded like this, right? So now we make a peanut spice paste. So different than all the other kind of spice paste is like we can put red curry paste, coconut milk, you know, palm sugar or honey, and you're done. So in Malaysia, we put now the fresh ingredients that we call rempah. This is not just for peanut sauce. The spice paste I'm showing you here is the basic start for many vegetable dishes and seafood dishes as well. So chilies go in, and then garlic go in for savory. So you got a hot and you got a savory, and then you've got this. Oh, I love this. This is turmeric. I love it. You know, we have this in our backyard. So turmeric goes in again for that rose-like turmeric flavor, and then for little color as well. And then you have all of these go in again. And then I'm just going to blend this. I also have a little bit of grounded turmeric which I can use. So powdered turmeric comes from, of course, dehydrating fresh turmeric. So now this is done, yeah? Okay, so I'm going to put this one here. Okay, a little bit more water. A little bit more water. Okay, that's good. So this is something that you can make beforehand and you know, store in a freezer, right? Refrigerator. So what you have here is a spice peanut sauce, spice-based peanut sauce. So this could be made and added to grilled vegetables, seafood wraps, meats. You know, in Malaysia, the Satay man, which is the street food vendor. We love to eat on the streets, right? Even the chefs love to eat on the streets. The vendor threads, you know, so I'm just going to put a little bit of, actually I'm not supposed to put oil, but I just wanted to put a little bit of oil, it's okay. So I'm going to put this peanut sauce in here. So for the recipe that I had, I didn't have oils. I just put in the pan and I put coconut milk. But in Malaysia, we like to fry our peanut sauce a little bit in oils, okay? And that is to infuse all of those flavors and to cook off these spices. So at this point, the peanuts and the chilies, they're all raw. It's so unpalatable. So what we are trying to do is to cook these spices and until the oils all separate to the surface. Okay, and then when the oils all separate to the surface, I'm going to just add a little bit of coconut milk right now. Okay. Right, this one here go. So to this, I add coconut milk. And then I let this just simmer until all of the coconut milk, I'm going to get a smaller spoon here. I'm just going to use this one instead. Yeah. Thank you. So let all of these simmer until the oils sort of separate and come to the top. So this sort of way of cooking with all these spices that I showed you is a Malaysian way of cooking peanut sauce. So the palate has so many different kinds of complexity. And with food, you know, they say the spices are the lifeblood of countless dishes in Malaysia. And it enhances, as you can see, it's cooking. It enhances natural ingredients. It enhances any dish that you cook. It also brings out the flavor of natural dishes and familiar dishes that you're going to already cook. And it's exciting to the palate because the more you layer with spices, the more complex the food is, the more tastier the dish will become, right? And one of the nice things about this peanut sauce is that because it's got all that galangal, the rose-like flavor, the savory from the turmeric, you've got the garlic, the pungent, the chili, the hot. So all of these flavors, you are really building. So when you keep in the refrigerator or the freezer, it can actually last you like 6 months without losing any of its flavor. You have these little friends here, your galangal and your shallots and, your galangal and your garlic and your chilies to, sort of preserve all the flavors in there. So from here, what I do is I just add a little bit of palm sugar. Okay, this palm sugar is basically a nectar, right? And what it does, it balances all of the spiciness in the dish. So I like to make this palm sugar and keep it in my freezer. Unlike honey or sugar, it will not harden. So you can literally keep it in the freezer and it will look like honey. It will have the consistency of honey. So why palm sugar instead of just brown sugar in here? Because palm sugar is mellow. And you want that mellow, melt in your mouth, delicious, buttery flavors. And then now we have cumin, a little bit, and then a little bit of salt, a little bit of coriander, this savory spices, and then makrut lime leaves, which are grown in Southeast Asia. We just take them out and we just pluck them and we throw them here. And I'll tell you why we use them. Because if you're going to use lime right now, you know that lime will not hold the flavors until the end of the cooking. Your zest of all citrus would have been just gone, right? Evaporated. So what happens with the lime leaves is that it infuses all the citrusy flavor that you want from lime, and it promises you, this is like the trusted friend. You can rely on this. So the lime leaves or makrut lime leaves is known throughout Southeast Asia. In the United States, people think it belongs just to Thai food. But I grew up, when my mother needs lime leaves, we go out and pluck lime leaves and we bring it to our cuisine. It's so beautiful, it's so fresh. I love like rubbing it in my hands, like coming here. I plucked some fennel and I was like, oh, I love the smell of fennel, and I just love the smell of spices when we can go out to the garden and pluck that. It's so beautiful, So as you can see, now the spices are coming together. The spice, I just put a little bit of water. So the kaffir lime leaves here, or makrut lime leaves, is just going to give you that beautiful aromatic flavor. I mean, I can smell that here, it's just, I love this. And now we have one ingredient, which is sweet soy sauce. We call it in Malaysia and Javanese, kicap manis, not mayonnaise. Kicap manis. So kicap manis provides you with that beautiful butterscotch, savory-like flavors. Butterscotch, I would say butterscotch, butterscotch savory undertones. Basically, this is like the Asian balsamic. How you make balsamic, you reduce vinegars. This is reduced soy sauce with star anise and cinnamon, galangal, and the makrut lime leaves. All of these ingredients go into soy, and then we cook down the soy, and then we add raw coconut sugar. And this now we add a little bit like this. Now this is my color guide. So I want peanut color, right? So can you see? Just right here, you have peanut sauce color, like voila, it's done, you know? So this is to give you that peanut sauce flavor that you want in your peanut sauce. And also it brings like this beautiful golden brown flavors that you get, with your peanut sauce. It's very appealing because you're really eating with your eyes, right? So now we have this, and it's a chunky peanut sauce. Once it's done, this is almost done already. Just a little bit spoon. I'm gonna taste. Very good. I love that. I love my food. I love my food. Well, at home, if I don't cook, I'm not eating. See, that's why. So you can see the peanut sauce is done, right? Very fast. So I'm going to turn it off. That's it, very quickly. And then this one's going to go in the bowl. And a little bit lime. Sorry, forgot. So remember I told you that we cannot rely on lime to carry us through. We had that makrut lime leaves. So now we put that little lime. It's like French cooking. You put lemon at the end to bring all the flavors together. And in Southeast Asia, this is our limes. This is our limes. So the lime is going to pop all of those flavors. So where's the bowl? That one there for me? For the peanut sauce. Can I use this one?
Yeah. You want a bigger one?
No, this is fine. Okay, I'm going to give this one to you. Okay. So I'm going to put my peanut sauce in here. You know, in Malaysia, if you serve this much of peanut sauce, people will be very upset with you. They'll be probably fighting at the restaurant already. Because they come for the peanut sauce. They don't care about anything else. Like, who cares? Just give me the peanut sauce. So here I have a beautiful salad here, plated for you. In this is a ring of cucumber, and then you have, I'm going to mix the dish, right? And then we have cucumber, we got peanut sauce, a little bit of garnish, we got tofu inside, we have a tony of sweet potatoes, and jicama inside. So really, someone sees this, it's like eating with your eyes, and it's a feast. And they take the slit and pour this on. You would never want to smear this on the plate because you can see it's thick. So it's like a taste journey, little dipping and eating. So here you go. This is a Malaysian peanut sauce. Thank you. There you go. So now we're going to show you the eggplant sambal. Very similar again. So So one of the things that I want to share with you is about spices, right? When we talk about spices, why so important? Earlier, the first dish I showed you a lot of fresh spices, and then I had the aromatic dry spices going in. The dry spices are always in cuisine, always goes in the middle part of the cooking because that creates that complexity, that prolonged flavor. You want that prolonged flavor experience. So that's when you use spices, powders in the middle of your cooking. You never use powders at the beginning. It'll burn. So while I'm waiting for the oil to get hot, okay, I'm going to put a little bit more oil so I can cook the sambal easily. I'm going to make now, again, the sambal paste. So this eggplant sambal starts with chilies, too much chilies here, but I'll use half. And then garlic, this is hot, savory. Citrusy, which is ginger, right? And then you've got savory, which is shallots, okay? And also, you can also fry the shallots a little bit and add in here. It's very nice, very rustic, a lot of body. And then this is the basic of making sambals. And then that's it. And then you put in, this goes in, and then your tomatoes. And then the dry spices go in here as well, or it can go in the pan. That is cumin. So all of these go in here, and then we press the button, and then we just cook this up very quickly. Put a little bit of water to get the blades moving. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all these spices inside the pot, and cook with my eggplant. I don't think my eggplant will cook on time, so we'll pretend like television, it's done. Okay, so what we have here is straight away I'm going to add from here, right, into my oils. So this is the making of a sambal, okay, here you go. So this is making, you can take all this one, yeah. So this is making of sambal. Again, a wet and dry spices coming together. You can see, a lot of people think that spices are all just, dried ingredients. But when you think of plant-forward cuisine, you really want to approach plant-forward cuisine with spices. Because think of spices, where are their homes? It's the tree. Roots, bark, seeds, leaves, stems, fruits. They're all spices. So one of the things that I wrote here to share to understand how to use spices for food service, really to understand the flavor compounds. What the flavor compounds spices are providing. Sweet could be cinnamon, warm could be nutmeg, earthy, cumin, fragrant, cardamom, pungent and hot like the chilies that we use, sour, sumac, tamarind, and fruity, which is a coriander, lemongrass, sounds like wine. So all of these are beautiful flavors. As you can see, the sambal is cooking like this, right? And then we're going to add in the eggplant. I'm going to add in the eggplant in here, okay? And I'm going to just toss this in, and then and allow these to cook, basically. And then, where's the microgreens? Yeah. And then while that cooks, I'm going to put a little bit of couscous on the base of my plate here, right? And this, I don't think will cook on time, for sure not. Because this dish takes 20 minutes to cook. Yeah, we'll just have to pretend, right? Yeah. So one of the things that, I'm just showing you the concept of how to get this dish done, and also one of the things that to learn about this dish is that to understand that all of these spices, when you learn how to pair them, like pairing wine, then you add a lot of more flavors to your cuisine. So spices should not just be some grinding of pepper and salt or keeping that spice bottle at the back of the cupboard, and that's really a sad story. You should bring spices in because spices are trending, spices are healthy, it's got a lot of healthy properties there. And then last but not least, it is a flavor enhancer. It takes your dish from ordinary to extraordinary. It takes something that's so beautiful and makes it more complex and more inviting. All of your senses come alive. Your palate loves this. So I'm going to just take this out because we don't have time, right? Okay. So you have to just pretend eggplant is cooked, okay? Because we're not presenting this to you to eat right now. But the eggplant is cooked. The way what we do is we just put the eggplant over the couscous, right? It's like television, you have one prepared already sometimes. So you have that eggplant, and then what we do is we take this sambal, and remember the sambal has all the flavors already, okay? So we've got all that palm sugar and everything inside here. So we take this cooked sambal, and then we are going to place them on the top. So when it's fully cooked, when it's fully cooked, your eggplant will literally, like, very limpy, fall off the plate like that, okay? And then for garnish, we're just going to put a little bit of microgreens around the plate like this. A little bit, okay? And then serve this just like that. So very simple. So I have a few things that I want to share very quickly. Just 1 minute. I don't know where I kept it. Oh, here, right here. I'm sorry I don't have a lot of time to share with you about the encyclopedia of spices that I know in my head. Okay, but I want to share 2 things very quickly with you for people who want to use this for food service, yeah? So if you're looking for a Mediterranean food, Mediterranean, Asian, Mediterranean, that's what I call it. Why not serve something very, very familiar, Malaysian-style gluten-free lasagna sheets, right? Lay it with eggplant sambal, a little bit of ground pork and fresh basil. So people love it. Why? Because it's a familiar dish. And then now you've added global flavors to it. Second thing, eggplant sambal. Serve this eggplant sambal with Brussels sprouts and coconut rice in the bowl with some croutons, tempeh croutons. They call that the Buddha bowl. People love that as well. And eggplant, shredded, another dish. Eggplant, shredded carrots, some pine nuts, some cooked rice, wrapped in cabbage, and then cooked in the sambal sauce and served. It's my Ukrainian gulupsi inspired. I love it. I could eat that almost every day, I promise you, I love it. Eggplant sambal baba ganoush, a Middle Eastern take, and then eggplant and olives. Serve this eggplant, chop it up, and serve it cold with flatbreads. And some olives as a palate entizer. And last, for a Japanese fusion, your grilled tempura eggplant steak on a bed of sambal with a little bit of umuboshi, Japanese plum on the side. Oh, I love it. And then for this peanut sauce, to take away, marinate your tempehs, your tofus, all of the vegetables under the stars you can think of with your peanut sauce sambal. Then liquefy the peanut sauce sambal, use it as to baste your vegetables. Next thing, chicken satay flatbreads, pizzas. Everybody loves pizza. Make a pizza out of this with chicken satay, the base of this, and arugula topping. Cabbage slaw with peanut sauce. And then finally, that's some of the things that I had for you. Peanut slaw, cabbage, and then let me see.
Chef, I want to eat all of those things.
Yeah. And then avocado fries. Okay, go away from French fries. It's beyond French fries. Avocado fries, egg wash, coated with breadcrumbs, deep fried and served with Malaysian peanut sauce. We love it. Street food for us. And grilled shrimp tacos with corn, tofu bites, tomatoes, peanut sauce, and squeeze of lime. That's a Malaysian taco. And my favorite, my mother used to make this for me, which is my lunchbox, crispy coconut fritters with fried shallots within, and then enjoyed with our peanut sauce. So I hope you bring Malaysian food. Malaysian food is, not, well known in the United States, but I hope you will bring this because it's got so much of complex flavors, so much in your palate, and you're always parting in your mouth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chef.
Thank you. Oh, you want to stay back?
Oh, no, we don't have time. Unfortunately, we don't have time. We've got to bring Chef Suvir on. Yeah. Thank you, Chef. Yes. Thank you so much, Chef. And you'll be able to hear so much more from Chef Christina at her kitchen workshop tomorrow. And now up next, super excited to introduce Chef Suvir Saran. Welcome, all the way from Delhi. Welcome, Chef.
Good evening. Good afternoon. So a lot of my act was stolen by the previous 2 presenters. India is the mothership of spices and aromatics. And just like any elder, India often forgets where it began, what it was shared with the world, and how its philosophy has been carried further through the 7 seas to lands all over. Our spices were also not just from us, they also came from other parts of the world. There are 3 spices here, 4 actually, there's a curry leaf here. Coriander seeds, cumin seeds, and red chilies that are not Indian. The coriander and cumin are from the Mediterranean, chilies from the Americas, and Indian food would be incomplete without these. So India, as it was pillaged, plundered, looted, colonized by the other, it continued to take from them what they had and create their own modern cuisine. And yet, sometimes I think our food is too old-fashioned, but India kept adapting to all the trends that people brought in, and that's the beauty of India, that India is global food. The most common thing one sees on street sides today is Jenny pizza, which is this horrid concoction of pizza with this fake cheese and all kinds of Indian spices, and it's more like bubble gum, and it's ridiculous, but it's the #1 best-selling item on the street sides of India. But my mother and my grandmother were making donuts and the île flottante, the floating islands, made with custard and egg whites. My grandmother was doing it in the 1930s and 40s in India. My mother grew up with it. I grew up with them. So the French colonies of India had that dish. My mother, I don't know how she, Mrs. Balbir Singh was the most famous teacher of the 60s and 70s. My mom learned it from that. My grandmother learned it from her, and my mother was passed on the recipe, and I make it at my home. What we did, cardamom was added, nutmeg was added, mace was added into these custards. Depending on where you were in India, those spices got added. So today, I'm going to tell you about the balancing act that we do with spices. Coriander, cumin came to India for highlighting two things that Malaysia is doing the same thing. Cumin is very earthy and almost a little musty and a little dark and mysterious. Coriander is very citrusy and bright and aromatic and fun. And then the red chilies give you a bite on your lips and burn your mouth, but then they fizzle off. What we begin with Indian food are all these other spices that you'll see that I'll add at the dish in the beginning. We layer spices in many forms and many different parts of cooking. Whole spices sometimes go at the beginning. Those whole spices are called khada garam masala, standing whole spices. The word standing means that they'll continue to impact the flavor of the dish and your mood long after you've finished eating. So that's the strength of those spices. So the whole spices I'll add at the very beginning will be the last thing you'll remember of the meal, even perhaps after you've gone from your restaurant to the home. So those are the first spices. Then we add ingredients like an onion or whatever. If we aren't using onions, we're just going to the vegetable. We'll put the vegetable, as I'll do with the beans. Those get added. Then powdered spices get added. After that, if you're using an acid, tomato, tamarind, lemon, whatever acid you're using, souring agent, that gets put. Then a third layer of spice powders. And those ones are very bright or sulfurous and pungent, depending on what dish you're making. And they fizzle off in their impact. They just, your nose senses them, your taste buds will get tickled by them, and then you forget about them in a minute. So those are added at the very end, including garam masala. That's the last bit of seasoning we do. And then the aromatics, which are the herbs that we add as garnish. So, we keep layering flavors, and certain dishes in certain homes are even more elaborate. Mughal this, or chettinad that, and that they'll add 4 or 5 more layers of wet spices, wet chutneys that get cooked exactly as the chef was doing with oil to, melt their flavors a little. So we do all of that. We begin with one pan and we end with that one pan. There are no stocks, no bases that we use. Unfortunately, our restaurant cuisine is doing just the opposite. They make these horrid sauces that they then put into every dish, 3 or 4 versions of them. And that's the only thing I changed in my restaurant, Devi, in New York City. I cook like the Indian grandmothers and mothers who were cooking cucina povera, the food of poverty. India had been robbed of, we had the greatest wealth in the world till the English arrived in India, and we became the poorest nation by the time they left. They created 2 famines for India because we didn't have famine, they had it. They took all our produce, everything we had went to England and Europe. So India became a poor nation, and our people were very enterprising in their cooking. Our cuisine was a cuisine of sensible poor people, which doesn't require those stocks and bases. In this pan, with all these spices that can last forever if stored correctly, magic happens in an Indian kitchen. And I borrowed from those mothers and grandmothers and chefs, including my own family's chef, Panditji, who was a Brahmin cook cooking for our family. He cooks like this. It's elaborate in our head, but it's the easiest food you could ever make. So let's get started. I'm using some neutral vegetable oil. I heard somebody say sunflower oil, I like it. Whatever vegetable oil you have, use it. Mix it up every few weeks, months, whenever you're changing your ingredients. I'm adding some chana dal, which is chickpea lentil, hulled black beans. So they're white in color, it's the inside of the black bean. Mustard seeds, the American ingredient, red chilies, curry leaf, which I think we are passing around. Thank you. So everybody, please, everyone just take 1 curry leaf in your hands, and what you'll do, you'll indulge me. Let me first put these here. Curry leaf is going, cumin seeds are going. So this is the beginning of the standing spices of our cuisine. Take a leaf in your hands, just fold it onto itself, then tear it a little and smell this. This is the only thing called curry that we Indians enjoy with some self-respect in our kitchens. The curry powder that you all love or hate, that has that jarring taste of fenugreek and other powders that are not very Indian, was created by the British to represent the food of 700 million people. So that was it's a concoction that Indians really don't know or understand. If you love curry, the taste of curry, or hate it, blame the British, it's not Indian. We have a plethora of spices we work with. So I began with cold oil. This is nothing you learn in Indian cookbooks or from Indian chefs. The reason I do that, I learned from our family chef Panditji, that when you begin with cold oil, the spices get 3 or 4 extra minutes to luxuriate in the oil, have a little spa moment in the kitchen. And they've now imparted their flavor even more generously into the pan. And at this point, I'm adding some coconut. And now look at the ingenuity of Indian home cooks. They're adding coconut twice in this dish. Once, and this asafoetida, which is the sap from a plant called ferula, a cousin to the fennel plant that grows in Iran and Afghanistan. It would come from Iran and Afghanistan to India to impart the flavor of garlic and onions to a sattvic, Brahmanical food of India. The Hindus of India often don't want garlic and onion in their food, so that particular powder gives that very savory, buttery, fried onion, fried garlic taste to a dish. So I've added that into the dish. The coconut here is being browned to give the nutty flavor and aroma of the coconut. I can smell it here. I don't know if you all can. Are you smelling it? It's toasty, nutty, and wonderful. I'll add the beans at this point. And now we'll do the Martha Stewart to this dish, or Rachel Ray, whichever one you like. And I have a swap dish ready. Yes. So you'll cook it for, if you like. I love South Indian versions of vegetables. They're crunchy. You can keep them raw. They play with food, with color, with texture, with surprising tastes and pairings. Because in India, one of the Hinduism, which was the predominant religion of old India, believed in Chappan Bhog, 56 distinct colors, tastes, textures, temperatures, and scents have to go into a meal for it to be correct, for a complete satiety to be brought to the diner. So 56 distinct colors, tastes, textures, temperatures. How do you get that? You need all of these things. An arsenal of ingredients brings you those 57 distinct colors and tastes and textures. So we are swapping. Actually, I'll use that, because by the time this gets hot, we'll be late. So you'll just think that the dish has been cooked correctly. Coconut, please, the other coconut. So now what we'll do is we'll add coconut a second time. And this coconut is not to be browned. We are just going to let it add its sweetness and creaminess to the dish. So 2 times. So again, layering again. I like my green beans to be a little al dente, crunchy. You can serve it cold as a salad. You can serve it as a side dish. At my restaurant, Devi, we used to serve it with shrimp. So it's now, you're getting the shrimp into this, which have been marinated with some sambar powder, or you can use curry powder in a pinch. And very little. You don't have to marinate it for more than 15, 20 minutes, maybe an hour if you are really wanting to plan ahead. But a good shrimp don't need much. You add it into the beans, let them cook for a few minutes, very few, not too many. And Indians in the coastal regions of India know how to cook fish. Other parts of India, just like the US, the more separated you are from the ocean or the sea, the less you understand seafood. Cook it less, it's better. Overcooked, it's like leather and chewy and not very wonderful. So 3 to 4 minutes is most you need. And a little bit, I'll add some salt. So this dish is from Tamil Nadu, but with the addition of the shrimp, I would say it represents Kerala more than Tamil Nadu, where it's all mostly Brahmanical cooking. And it's just a great way of stretching vegetables with animal protein with vegetables. In India, we don't think of protein as just being animal-based miracle for the body. We understand that the vegetable kingdom gives us better, smarter, tastier, more delicious protein. And so in India, when we say protein, it can come from veggies as well as animal protein. That India is changing. Recently, I'm now the chef for the Miss India contest that's watched by 700 million Indians. And they invited me to be part of the first casting of it. And I talked with all the contestants. And I realized these young ladies were all thinking protein only came from animals. So the India I grew up with and in the India of today, somehow the American way of understanding protein has become the viral that's inflicted India. They're also thinking that they have to eat chicken or some kind of meat to be healthy. So it's a conundrum we are facing in India. The shrimp were cooler. They were brought out from a refrigerator. If you had them sitting at room temperature for half an hour, they would cook much faster. Sorry about that. So I'm just waiting for them to turn color. I don't want to tell you it looks correct. Taste it for the masala, sambar powder, salt, a little lime juice if you have, but the marination had it, so you don't have to worry too much. That's how simple Indian cooking is. You have to go to the market, buy spices once every 3, 4, 6 months, 1 year, freeze them in a freezer. When you're not, take your bulk amount, put them in the freezer. You have little jars that you use every day in small containers, fill them up. They literally can last your lifetime in a freezer. They go to sleep, nothing happens to them, bring them out. That's the worst thing you have to do in Indian cooking is go shopping once. After that, our cooking is cooking for dummies. We make it difficult because we want to charge you money to teach you how easy it is. But it's really cooking for dummies. There's nothing difficult about Indian cooking. The other dish is a dish I made at my farm in upstate New York, using the Indian way of layering flavors to turkey. I didn't grow up with turkey. Indians hit and miss about turkey. Some of us like them, most of us don't like turkey. The scent of turkey we raised turkey in our own farm. They were beautiful birds. But whenever I go to eat them, I have that little flavor that just bothers me, irks me. By cooking it this way, that flavor disappeared. And people who ate it, the leftover Thanksgiving turkey, all of a sudden became something I was excited to make. Because the next day I wanted to eat it this way. We are beginning with the same kind of neutral oil in which we are putting cumin, mustard seed, red chilies, garlic, and curry leaves. So we are cheating here. Normally garlic would go in the end, but this dish was a stir fry done more Muslim style, and the Middle Eastern sensibilities came in, where Indians would never put garlic at the beginning. We would do it somewhere mid. But this is more the Muslim traditions from the community of India that were traders dealing with the Middle East and also Southeast Asia. So they put garlic at the beginning. Now I'm adding onions. So in Indian cooking, onions are a way of adding both texture, sweetness, and a savory quality into a dish. So you can take them very dark, almost where they're getting ashen brown, and you add water and it just all tears up into the smooth paste, and that becomes a brown sauce. Or you can literally go very dark caramelized and leave them a little chunky, or you can leave them translucent where you get texture from them. So in this dish we want texture, we don't want them to get caramelized. So I'll add a little salt to sweat them out. And look at the colors in this pan, so exciting. I went to school for graphic design and art history, and somehow from studying art I became a chef. So for me, colors are so important, texture is important. So curry leaf is the curry that we love in India. We're adding some jalapenos, we're adding the turkey. How much time do I have? 6 minutes. So I've added the turkey. You can use chicken as well. Roast chicken works very well with this. I would have used more greens, but I didn't have a bigger bowl. So the idea is use as much greens as possible, less turkey. In India, meat, we like it. We think it's very fashionable. It's very luxurious for all the wrong reasons. It smacks, so it just smells of elitism. So people want to have it because they think it's fancy. But old India, meat wasn't necessary. I'm adding jalapenos. And you could really, the order of these ingredients really doesn't matter. It's like cooking a scrambled egg. We've added black pepper and a little salt. I'll put a little more salt. She salts less than I do. She's better trained than I am. When you're beginning with fresh ingredients, don't worry about the salt. It's very high. So the turkey's got a little color. I'm adding the green peas. Why I'm doing it this way, don't ask me. We've added some kale. You can add Swiss chard, spinach. Whatever I had at the farm that Thanksgiving day was thrown into this recipe we were testing for the book. So whatever greens you have. The idea is it's a scramble that you make with what you have in your, everything but the sink stir fry, you can call it. Indians would really be rattled by everything but the sink being put to a dish because they think of sinks as being dirty, food as being pure. We cook for the gods before we eat ourselves. So our food is very, very, it's a chore that we love, that we used to love. A lot of us are changing. Cooking is something you did out of a connection to the divine and also of protecting yourself from illness. So what you put in your mouth was very important to be pure, to be made with love. Ayurveda is becoming very popular these days. I've just started working for the largest Indian cultural group called Indic Academy that's now bringing a plant-forward Ayurvedic course to their curriculum because they've realized that the Prime Minister of India and many countries, England and Australia, are now giving Indians who can teach plant-forward cooking in Ayurveda easy entry into their countries with visas that are long-term. So our food, I guess, is finally going to make it big in nations far and wide. And it's the vegetarian food of India because of its strength of hygiene in clean ingredients, pure ingredients being used. I'm adding the scramble, the egg. And why did I add egg to this dish? You know, I was serving it for breakfast the day after Thanksgiving, so I threw it in. And what it did was, all these aromatics, the spices we've added, it somehow gets them stuck to the turkey. I don't like the flavor of turkey. This worked. And it's the only way I can eat turkey. Even today, I've tried eating, also a turkey burger. I make a turkey burger with curry leaves, with some fennel powder, and I love it. But for me, turkey has this gamey smell that I can't enjoy. But you can keep the eggs a little wet or dry, depending on your how you like them. But this is it. The dish is done. It's very simple. Leave it. If the greens should be wilted, not overcooked, so the colors are there. And you can make it spicier. My sister always, she's the true American. She loves chilies. And my mother and I are true Indians. We like it balanced. So my sister would add more green chilies. She would add a little garam masala. She would put pickled oil. You can make it as complex as you want to leave it as simple. Our most basic home cooking, what we call sukhi sabzi dal chawal in North India, but in South India, they're porial and sambar or pachri. So the same style of food, but these are stir fries. There are saucy lentils and legumes and beans, a little yogurt with a fresh vegetable or fruit. What we have in our table is a cold item like a yogurt that it cools your palate. We have a crunchy vegetable that's dry. We have a saucy, soupy dish that you can enjoy with your rice or bread. And then we have whole grain breads, flatbreads. And we have 2 or 3 stir-fry vegetables, some pickles, to try and achieve those 57 distinct flavors, tastes, textures, temperatures, and colors that will excite your palate, sate your hunger, and keep you inspired for the rest of your day. Because in India, at lunch, we are thinking of evening snack. At evening, during snack time, we are thinking of what we'll eat for dinner. At dinner, what we'll eat for midnight snack, and then at midnight snack for breakfast. We are obsessed with food. But it's when we are healthy and we are normal, we are eating this kind of food. When today's India, where diabetes and all kinds of bad medical outcomes are being faced by the nation, we're eating mindlessly. We're eating food that's terrible. So luckily, we are going back to older ways. And these simple dishes are easy to make. Nothing about Indian cooking is complex. The restaurant-style food that you may love, butter chicken, dal makhani, Paneer makhani is an aberration. We don't eat it in our homes with much. We eat it once in a while because we were stuck with it. In the 1940s, somehow someone thought that's food that people should eat, which is fancy. It didn't begin in our homes. Our home is where our food is pure, pristine, divine, seasonal, regional, delicate, light, and good for you. Those restaurant-style dishes are bastardized dishes that have no legs to stand on in Indian homes, and no self-respecting Indian will eat them more than just once or twice or 3 times a month out of just being in a restaurant where somebody else has invited them. My mother would never eat them. She'll have to just be polite and eat them in a restaurant, but otherwise she'll never go looking for those dishes. So our home cooking is simple, easy, cheap and cheery. It's the spices and aromatics that make them fun and playful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chef. Thank you so much, Chef. That was wonderful. And I remember those coconut green beans and shrimp from Divi. They were wonderful then, and they smell wonderful now. So I'm looking forward to tasting them tonight. Thank you, Chef. Up next, I'm so excited to welcome Chef Sayat.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's so exciting to be in such a stimulating environment. It's really difficult for me to go after so many exciting presentations, but I'm excited to be here. I am always here. I'm actually the chef at this building, one of the chefs. I run the non-teaching operations, a couple restaurants, the private events functions here at the CIA in Copia, as well as in San Helena. So I am a graduate of the CIA, but this is not my first career. I had a whole analytics team before, crunching numbers and saving lots of millions of dollars in a warehouse environment. And about 10 years ago, I decided to switch. And I need to be there to be on the camera, right? But 10 years ago, I decided to start cooking because somebody hinted that I would meet the love of my life at the CIA. So my wife is actually right here, and the particular recipe I'm showcasing is something that I developed with her. So if I say something wrong, she will interfere. So I changed my career 10 years ago, and I actually, this is interesting the way we're set up actually today. Chef Christina is from Malaysia. We talked about Indian spices and how global trade routes actually affected the expression of spices across the world. And I'm at the end of that bow from Malaysia to India to Turkey, and Istanbul was one of the major end points of the spice road. And lo and behold, I've actually been to a lot of the ports of the end of the spice road. And the spices in Georgia are expressed incredibly differently. In Haifa, they're expressed incredibly differently. In Antioch, Hatay, today's Hatay, they're expressed very differently. So today, the idea that I want to talk about is specifically about the diffusion of spices through animal fat. So we are a plant-forward conference, but as Greg pointed out in the beginning, it doesn't just mean a sterile approach to thou shalt not eat meat. It means reduction, all of the above, right? So, and this is one way I approach it, in that I use meat as a vessel for flavor to carry all the spices through and flavor a whole plate of dish. And you'll see with the quantity of sujuk that I'll use that it's actually, we'll use maybe an ounce of meat to flavor a whole plate of food. And so one of the things you see on that trajectory of the spice road is the dilution of spices. As Turkey secularized and turned west in the last 150 years, it basically diluted the cuisine more and more. Especially in Istanbul, small homes, people don't cook with spices a lot. And that is always disappointing for me, so much so that before I started at the Culinary Institute, I went to India to sort of explore and study spices myself, and it was a fascinating experience. Backwaters of Kerala, cooking in Mumbai, Goa, and I was always so excited about spices. And it's one way we cook. I've always cooked a vegetable-forward cuisine that celebrates spices all the time, more so than it is in Turkey. And the food that I cook at the Grove, Chef Tom and others have said that we have this great restaurant here. It's the garden, our preservation methods, including spices, and a California Middle Eastern cuisine is the way we think about our three pillars when we build our dishes. So sucuk is an interesting phenomenon. That's the sausage that I want to talk about. Sure, there's a little bit of a technical approach to it. I'm actually making it in sous vide bags instead of casings. We'll talk about that in a second too. And then it is actually one way in Turkey we still celebrate spices, and it is something that people eat once or twice a week. It is not too different from chorizo, longanitsa, pastırma, all these cumin, garlic, chili powder sausages that you've seen all across the world, everywhere from Mexico to Spain to let's trace the Moors back to the Middle East, to the Armenians, the Bulgarians, the Turks that have celebrated the sausage in many different ways for the last 300-400 years. So often it's dry cured, fermented in air, and I basically make it by putting it in a sous vide bag. The reason why I can get away with that is I do this thing where, Laura and I do this thing where we basically say, why do we need to do this step? So does the difference make a difference? That's the engineer, economist in me that always asks the question, does the difference make a difference? So once we've answered all the food safety questions, we've talked to the California certification people, and they've said, oh, that sounds like a good idea. We don't have a specific certification process, has a plan for that, but it would qualify for sous vide cooking. So we basically sort of remedied the HACCP plan with that. But the idea is basically if you're not dependent on the specific moisture content of your sausage, can you make it in a sous vide bag and keep it moist? So we've used this sausage on a flatbread at the restaurant that we built in San Francisco, Noosh. Just 3 little dots would flavor a whole $22 flatbread, and we've sold 1,200 units of that flatbread every week, and it was the most popular item, and it was amazing. So let's start making the sausage making, actually. So pepper paste is one of the fundamental building blocks of Turkish cooking. It does not typically go into sausage, but because of the moist application of this sausage, we actually incorporated a pepper paste into our recipe as well. And then because we love exploring the expression of the same preservation technique in different cultures, instead of using just Turkish pepper paste, we've also incorporated gochujang into our recipe, which is one of my favorite non-Turkish ingredients in the world, probably. So gochujang is a Korean pepper paste. It actually has a little bit of, typically, it has a little bit of soy, fermented soy, and peppers, obviously garlic as well. So then we have cumin powder, coriander powder. I always use those in 2-to-1 ratio. Fenugreek. Fenugreek also doesn't typically go into sucuk. It goes into another Turkish sauce, Turkish preserved meat called pastırma. It is the thing that's basically dry cured meat, one of the first dry cured meats in the world, and it gives its characteristic smell. And we decided to use it to differentiate it and pull it away from the chorizo world. So it gives that distinct flavor that makes it our own. That little je ne sais quoi, what is this in here? This is a pepper called Urfa. It's a chili as it dehydrates under tarps in southeastern Turkey. Let's see. It gets this raisiny dark color, and it's similar to the pasilla, the Mexican pasilla from northern Mexico. It's raisiny, it's sweet. I use it just like Chef Suvir was talking about adding onions. I add this chili to make things a little bit sweeter. In fact, I'll use it in dessert preparations as well. We've had at the Grove a date tart, for instance, that we married a date puree, a charred date puree with this chili to put into a chocolate tart. Then salt, a little bit of Bactofirm that will act. Bactofirm is the main preservation agent here. We're making sausage. It's going to ferment the sausage. So, and then dextrose is basically a bioavailable sugar that helps you activate the Bactofirm. And then curing salt, pink salt. There's curing salt 1, curing salt 2, and the one, I always mix them up, I have to look them up. One is the fast-acting one, and then the garlic powder and onion powder. So all of these will go into here and then into a mixing bowl. I can mix here. Yeah, I mean, I'll just mix in this bowl, yes. So we end up with a very red paste that is basically a meat paste at the end. So obviously we're not going to ferment this here. It takes about 3 days to ferment. So fermentation is something, all these bacteria that we love to put into our food, and yes, we love putting bacteria into our food, are co-evolved with us, and they'll best ferment close to body temperature. So we're talking 90 to 100 degrees. So, and a sous vide water bath is what I find is better working for me than a fermentation covered with sausages hanging. It's a little bit more controlled. I feel safer. And at the end of the 3 days, you have to test it with a pH strip and make sure it gets to the right level. And these are all documented in the recipe as well. If you ask me what pH it needs to be at, I will not be able to answer that. So all of these go in, they get mixed up, and they go snugly into little bags. So this is the curing salt, pink salt, and then the dextrose and the Bactofirm I would activate with a little bit of water aside, almost like yeast. And then you get it to the right pH, and voila. So sometimes after 3 days, every bacterial environment you create acts differently, right? It's a live culture. It's preserved at the end, but it's a live culture, so it acts differently. So every single time we take the sausage out of the water bath, we take it out of its casing, and then actually measure it. And we also go by taste too. So the pH strip as well as taste. There's a certain tartness to this sausage. Currently, I'm serving this dish, sausage at the restaurant on a shakshuka dish for brunch. How many of you have heard of shakshuka? It's typically an Israeli dish celebrated mostly in Israel. And it's like sujuk, right? Everybody loves to own up to these dishes in the Middle East, and I say I cook a diplomatic Middle Eastern cuisine. It's not a cuisine of Turkey or Armenia. I'm Armenian, actually, so that comes with all kinds of connotations, and there's a genocide and everything. But point being, I don't ascribe any of these dishes to any culture. Let's just create a borderless Middle Eastern cuisine that could have been, and basically get as much flavor into our food as possible without offending anybody. So sujuk is like that, shakshuka is like that. We have a shakshuka on the menu. We put a couple little chunks of tomatoes, of this sausage into a thick, jammy tomato sauce. And I'm obsessed about quick pickup times. I'm sure some of you in industry veterans are excited about quick service as well. So, because it's a sausage with a lot of fat content, it basically just needs warming through in the oven. We put the poached eggs. I also pre-poach my eggs. I told you I was obsessed with pickup times. But and then the pre-poached eggs go on this cast iron skillet, 90-second pickup, and lots of flavor. So let's talk a little bit more about sausage. So I also like to, we talk about not smearing sausage a lot in sausage making world. Can I have a knife? And outside of that sausage making world, my world, I like to smear this sausage because it comes together a little bit better. So when you're mixing it in the hook attachment, you really want to beat it up until it smears. And can we have this? This is my use first package. This is from my mise en place. It is in a double bag. That's just for storage purposes. It's okay. I'm actually going to go straight to the cutting board. So as you see, I'm already sort of bloody with the sausage. That's all the spices and the pepper paste coming through. So sometimes we'll bowl these up, but for ease purposes, I'll chunk it up with the knife. If you could smell this, just here, I feel like I'm in a chorizo market already. There are a lot of, per ounce of meat, there are a lot of spices in here. That's why I use it very sparingly. I cut big chunks, but for cooking time purposes, I'm going to cut smaller chunks for the actual demo. So let's see if we're already sizzling here. We're warm. So I'll add a little bit of water to this pan as well. A little bit of oil. And we'll start rendering this pork fat out a little bit. Oh, also Middle Easterners, I do this all the time, so it's sujuk, it's Middle Eastern. Oh, by the way, it's not. So it's actually made from pork, which you would think is not a very Middle Eastern meat. But I'm all about modernizing things, and this is one way to do it, right? So make it a little bit more. And the thing is, right, we have a lot of purist chefs. My thing is, I don't want people to compare it to my food to their childhood experience. Like, oh, my mom used to have sujuk on it. I want them to create new experiences for themselves. So everybody has their own prerogative. That's just the way I approach classic flavors. I want to take it out of the box that they're in and basically have them attain new heights of nirvana. So we'll add a little bit of oil to this to just start rendering it a little bit faster. This sausage does really well with lower heat, so the shakshuka we were talking about, it goes into a salamander basically and sits in there for a little bit. It sits at ambient temperature before it goes into the salamander. And then the flatbreads that I was talking about at my restaurant, Noosh, would also sit in the oven. So this renders really slowly into a cheesy sauce and everything. Today we're featuring chickpeas. And I would like your help to lobby the Chickpea Council here, while they're here, actually one of the sponsors, to convince them to put this product in the freezer as well. So we get beautiful frozen peas, we get beautiful frozen favas. It's time for frozen chickpeas as well. Do I have anybody from the Chickpea Council here? Awesome, we'll talk later, great. So because, we are in the middle of a labor shortage, right? So how can I convince people to use fresh chickpeas when I have to peel them one by one? I'm ready for it. Yes, I'll bring them in. I'll make my purveyor carry them. I really love them, actually. So these are great raw, too, of course. And this is cooking, right? And I'm going to render a little bit more of this. You know what? I'll actually use this fat on the egg separately. There's enough fat, we don't need more of it. So I'll separate some of this sausage fat so we can gently fry our egg. I know, I'm just making a fried egg. So sujuk typically is basically just associated with breakfast. And you would basically fry eggs with it. And that's pretty much what we're doing here today. I'm going to add my chickpeas here. And I'll tell you, we were talking about, so economists, I went to school for economics, and then I became an engineer. I came to the United States for molecular evolution. The point is the trade routes fascinate me, and this global diffusion of flavors and using similar ideas and applying them differently across the world is one of the things that blows my mind. A couple months ago, we were in Spain. And we love vegetables, and I always look for vegetables on menus. And it's very difficult to find vegetables on a tapas bar, unless it's like a canned artichoke or something. And the one dish that we kept getting over and over was basically favas fried with jamon with an egg on top. And that was delicious, but it was also the only vegetable we ate for 10 days. Thank you. I would have just thrown it in the back. But, so egg is frying, our sausage is smelling, our chickpeas are getting the color and the spice coating, and probably raise the temperature here just to get a little bit of water in the pan and let it come together. Once this cooks a little bit more, we'll move the pan. We're just making fried eggs. I'm going to, was this drinking water for somebody, or can I use it? Okay, awesome. Cooking water. Not the. Awesome. Just to hydrate those chickpeas a little bit more, we'll take a dramatic small black plate. Has anybody had sujuk here before? It's typically, are you from the Middle East? Greek. Awesome. I'm Armenian, so no conflicts there. Yeah, I always have to be diplomatic. I come from this pop-up world. My wife and I used to do pop-ups every night, and we would have a table with Israelis, Greeks, Palestinians, Armenians, Turks, and just peace in the Middle East. That's the way I think about it on the plate, basically. Let's separate this egg, as you've pointed out, Chef, from the pan so it moves around a little bit. Excellent. And we're basically going to drape an egg over some beans. It is super simple, but it's meant to be super simple. It's a small tapa. It's something that you can fix up really quick with lots of flavor. An egg. You know what I would also put on here, but I didn't want to alienate anybody? Maybe a little bit of yogurt. I love sujuk yogurt and any kind of beans. And it's healthy-ish, right? What questions can I answer for you guys? Anybody want to nerd out on the technology of the sous vide sausage making? 86 is what it says on the sheet, yes. I would not have remembered that. Thank you, Chef. And then a little bit of salt on the eggs. This is really all I wanted to talk about. Simple, flavorful, lots of vegetables, and lots of spices. Bon appetit. Do I stay or no?
Well, thank you. Thank you to today's chefs, Sayat Ozyilmaz, Suvir Saran, Christina Arakisame, and Shinari Freeman. I think that we are off to a dynamic and delicious start. Chef Christina has, as you saw, so much knowledge to share. And so for those of you who've signed up for her kitchen workshop, tomorrow she will share in depth those 2 recipes. And then also we're heading next to our opening reception and sponsor exchange. She'll be signing books there, and you'll find tastings from our sponsors, Pulmuwan Foods USA, Unilever Food Solutions, the National Peanut Board, and Tyndall, as well as that delicious stir-fried green beans dish that Chef Suvir demoed, and Chef Christina's tofu salad with peanut sauce. So we'll start tomorrow morning, bright and early at 8 a.m. in the atrium, and then we'll come back here at 8:30 a.m. here in Ecolab for our first session with on fresh mushrooms and plant-forward menu R&D with Chef Spike Mendelsohn. Please join us now for a drink and some bites in the Jackson Family Wines Amphitheater and enjoy our beautiful California weather. Thank you.
Greg.